Well, welcome everybody to what is our sixth session, accounting our orientation session, and Fit for Life. And today's session is dedicated to cognitive fitness, something brand new, something that we've only been researching, really studying in earnest in the last, I'd say, 3 decades now. So the science on all this stuff is relatively new, and everything that I'm going to share with you today is super new and novel. And we're going to actually be participating in some activities, in some cognitive activities that will involve some dual tasking. And anyway, we'll get to that when we get to that. But welcome everyone that's here live. I'm so happy that you're here and could be here today. And for those of you on the recording, be sure and like it, be sure and share with us your thoughts and so on and so forth. Wish you were here for the interchange back and forth, but we understand if you can't be. Yeah. And I think that said, if we can jump right in, I'd like to just revisit the mission statement. I think it's super important to double back on our why we're here in the first place. And I was thinking about this the other day. After I got out of the shower, you know, these things, they just hit you in the middle of the blue. And I was thinking about this mission, the mission of providing a holistic educational program that will inspire, feed your motivation, and teach you how to maximize your aging potential while minimizing dependency as you age. And I thought, I need to add the word experiential, because it's not just educational, right? It's more like Montessori school, where everybody's practicing the lessons that we're learning in this whole lifestyle medicine realm. Would you agree?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
Hands-on is the best way.
I agree, Deb. I think, we learn when we hear, we learn when we see, but boy, when we do it and we apply everything, we really learn, right? So, yeah. So, thanks for letting me double back on that. And is there any housekeeping or anything anybody wants to discuss before we jump right into cognitive fitness? No. Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to go and let me just share my screen here. All right. So here we have use it or lose it, your brain on exercise. All right. There we go. There it is. So, and I forgot to mute. So one moment. I'm going to just stop this share for a second because I don't think I can mute this way. I didn't pull up my participant screen ahead of time to mute. Okay, I'll go ahead and mute now. So you guys can move around, make all the noise you want, and it won't at all interfere with the slideshow. Going back to sharing now, and here we are. All right. So I created this graphic some years ago. I actually don't even remember the first time I did a presentation on your brain and exercise, but I think it was for the Title I program for the entire state, I think it was. And interestingly enough, the keynote speaker for that particular Title I conference was a neuroscientist. And he was talking all about health and the brain and learning. It was amazing. And it just dovetailed beautifully into everything that I was sharing. Of course, my wheelhouse, you guys, is the fitness aspect. And so I am going to speak about the fitness aspect, but we're also going to get into the holistic aspect as well. So not just the physicality of exercise, but the nutrition, the importance of stress I'm not even gonna call it reduction, but management, managing our stressors is the way I rather put it. Because sometimes we can't affect our stressors. So the stressors are just that. And there are a number of them. But we can affect our reaction or response to those stressors. So that's why I call it stress management. Anyway, so there we have it all. So here it is, your brain on exercise. So I created this graphic way back when. And you can see the different areas of the brain. You do not have to know any of this. Although we are going to be talking a little bit about the hippocampus, and I'll get into that. But exercise helps your brain do all these things, okay? Reproduce new brain cells, proliferate new brain cells, multiply new brain cells, and reproduce new blood vessels to feed the brain, proliferate and multiply those. Regenerate. Anybody who's ever watched anybody or experienced anybody coming back from a stroke knows that brain generation or plasticity or brain morphing is 100% possible. And the ability to neogenerate, okay, or neurogenerate. So let's go. So here's some cool brain factors. Your brain weighs about 3 pounds, and it's about the size of both fists. And it's made up of about 80% water, 78% water, I guess is exactly, 10% fat, and 8% proteins. And it is responsible for about 20% of your body's energy consumption. So about 20% of your daily caloric needs go to feed your brain. And it prefers glucose, okay? So carbohydrates broken down to form glucose for fuel. And of course, oxygen. You have to have oxygen to the brain or the brain dies. The areas of the brain that don't receive it die. And it uses about 8 gallons of blood per hour. So know that if you are dehydrated, that your brain is also compromised, not just your body. So all physiological process and all mental processes. Needs about 64 ounces of water a day. I think that's where they got the 8-ounce glasses, okay? And while you're awake, your brain generates 10 to 23 watts of power. So just like your little cycle ergometer, the old ones that used to measure the watts. You experience about 70,000 thoughts a day. Of those, at least 80% of them are subconscious, which is why change is so difficult. We're not even aware of the thoughts that we're thinking. You continue to make neurons, those are your brain cells. You continue to make them throughout your lifespan. Used to be, not long ago, science said you only have so many brain cells and that's it. You can't make any more in your adult life. So you got what you got and you ain't getting no more. But guess what? We know that that is not true. You can make new neurons for as long as you're alive. A lot of the neurogenesis occurs in the hippocampus. Now that's in response to exercise. New research shows that all areas of the brain are affected by exercise or mental puzzles and or both, all right? So sensory stimulation, cognitive stimulation, and motor stimulation. We're going to get more into all that. But the hippocampus is really important. It was one of the first areas that they started studying, and I call it the campus of new learning. Easy for me to remember that way. It is your new memory, where your new memory is stored. So the recent memory. So if you know anybody that's had any mild cognitive impairment, usually it's the hippocampus that's affected first, all right? That would be the more recent memory, okay? And excessive stress can alter your brain cells' function and structure, just so you know that. So exercise is a stressor, but like all stressors, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing, all right? And we reach the point of diminishing returns. Study after study after study, I have slide after slide after slide, actually. So brain cognition, this is your ability to think, to remember things, to plan, to organize, to reason, to imagine, okay? These are all very high level brain activities. And you can see all of these research studies. And by the way, look at the dates on them: 2001, 2006, Kramer, Erickson, and Colomb, again, that's 2006. Physical activity has a neuroprotective effect, boosting brain health and function, especially with regard to executive central command, all right? So that's up here in the left temporal lobe, and that is your reasoning, it's your planning, it's your organizing, it's your ability to be here on time for this meeting, that sort of thing, and to remember it. 30 minutes of exercise. Now, let me just back up and say some of the initial studies with regard to the brain and exercise were basically all cardiovascular, okay? Think about it. Your brain's an oxygen hog, it's an energy hog, it's a glucose hog. And so when they studied it, they thought, well, it's definitely going to be the cardiovascular, because if we can open up those arteries and provide all that oxygen to the brain and keep those beautiful blood vessels wonderfully flexible and pliable, and we can continue to feed the brain with all this wonderful oxygen, then amen, right? This will make it happen. But it's not just aerobic exercise, strength training, Tai Chi, all of the yoga, Pilates, and Zumba dance. Zumba, and you're going to see why in a little bit later. I'm not going to make you do Zumba. Nobody get up and run. But 30 minutes of exercise stimulates something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Okay, super important. You don't need to remember it, but just know that there are gaps between your brain cells, and nerve impulses have to jump across that synapse, okay, so that your nerve cells, your brain cells, can communicate and you can form thoughts or movements or whatever. So BDNF is responsible for that, okay? Helps make the brain connections, if you will. And again, cardiovascular exercise, of course, because it speeds the delivery of oxygen, et cetera, et cetera. And not to mention sleep, super important for the brain. We're now understanding that sleep is one of the major things with regard to brain health. And if you are sleep deprived, then your brain really suffers. So exercise promotes better sleep, which promotes better brain health. So you can see how these things kind of all feed in to each other, not to mention the stress management, right? So Nussbaum back in 2006, again, this is so new, like just the last couple decades, identifies 5 critical domains: the physical activity, the mental stimulation, diet, spirituality, and socialization. All super important, and by matter of fact, all aspects of Fit for Life, right? Part of the holistic, part of the wellness wheel, part of the holistic nature of the program. Small in 2006 identified 4 critical areas: physical activity, mental activity, healthy diet, and stress management. So Small didn't emphasize the sleep, and neither did Nussbaum, but just suffice to say, it's extremely, extremely important. More research. not going to bore you with it, but this one was kind of cool. Regular dancing can reduce dementia, risk of dementia, 76% in the elderly. That was kind of neat. Anytime we challenge our brain with something new, we build new connections, all right? That's all part of the plasticity, all part of that brain morphing. Running, walking, anything. And by the way, if you can perform a motor skill and a cognitive skill at the same time, the whole neuronal connection strengthening thing is just exponentially increased, okay? It's really cool. It's very synergistic. But we have things, how you like my little graphic? It even had the toilet flushing noise, but it won't work anymore. I'm not sure why. But anyway, our lifestyle, guys, is causing this, all right? So we definitely changed as a species, and you can see here, there's the evolution of mankind, and, you know, basically we went from ape back to, looks like we're going back to ape. As a matter of fact, if you see the scientific prototype of the person of the future, it really does look like the guy with the kyphotic posture. Her name is Mindy. Her hands are crimped. Her elbows can't unbend. Her back is very kyphotic, etc. And that's because of, you know, well, you can see why. And also, because of our diet and our lifestyle, we're becoming, it's changing our composition, all right? And it has since the 1950s. We're a lot bigger than we used to be, and we have a lot more body fat than we used to be. So these diseases of lifestyle are just that. And they're calling dementia the diabetes 3, okay? Type 3 diabetes, just so that you know that, because of the inflammatory process and the connections. So exercise is amazing for your brain in any aspect, any way you look at it. The science is clear, it's proven. I just showed you a few studies, but it's also great for your mood, okay? And everybody's heard of the runner's high, right? Or the exercise high or whatever. It doesn't even take much. You don't have to run to get it. You just have to kind of zone out. In Zumba, for example, when you're dancing, when you're learning a new skill, and you're doing it to music, and then you suddenly get it, and you're in sync with the music. You're in your zone, right? Or anytime that you are doing something physical and you just kind of get into that zone. Part of that is the dopamine release, and part of it is probably the oxygenation to your brain. But these are just some of the neurotransmitters. Again, neurotransmitters. So these are things that are responsible for transmitting energy, okay, or impulse from one neuron to another, okay? Your dopamine, your serotonin, your endorphins. Exercise stimulates all of those things, guys, which is another reason why exercise is so beneficial for depression or the blues or seasonal affective disorder even. And it is medicine. Exercise is medicine. And again, the protective effects of exercise as well as the ameliorative effects of exercise. In other words, if you've got something wrong, exercise can help make it better. It really can. You just have to find something that you will do over and over and over again. Because if you don't keep doing it, you don't store the benefits, right? It's that use it or lose it. But this is how we spend most of our life, or a lot of us, right? We're a lot more sedentary than we used to be. I think, was it in last week's session or the session before that I shared with you the activity levels, the screen time? I think it was last week, the screen time slide. And, you know, you can see this guy's drinking beer, eating junk food, and snoozing on the couch. And here is another way to look at what's happened to our activity levels. So we're awake approximately 16 hours, we sleep about 8, and about 90% of that time we are inactive. So we need to do this, not just for our bodies, but for our brains, for our lifespan, but our health span, which is what Fit for Life is all about. We talked about the benefits of physical activity in the first session. And again, this slide is very similar to the one I shared with you way back about the lower mortality, the lower blood pressure, the lower the risk of cardiovascular disease, higher blood pressure, the reduction in risk of hypertension or high blood pressure, etc. And all those things are because of vascular remodeling. Same thing that helps your brain. This is brand new from July 2024. So back in the day when I started cardiac rehab, there was this doctor. His name is Dean Ornish. Has any of you ever heard of Dean Ornish? Yes. Okay. Some have, some haven't. Okay. Dean Ornish wrote this book back in, I don't know when, 80 maybe, 1980. And I modeled, when I started the cardiac rehab department at UCVH, I modeled the program after Dr. Ornish's research. Because Dr. Dean Ornish is the first person ever to prove that heart disease is reversible. And guess what, guys? He's doing the same work now with Alzheimer's. And it's brand new and it's out there. You can Google him. I've already put the resources in the group. I've already put an interview with Dr. Dean Ornish in the group. Please look at those resources because this is so important and it's cutting edge. We have a lot more affect or ability to affect our risk of neurodegenerative diseases. And Dean Ornish is proving it again. And he's also proving you can reverse it. He has testimonials of people who were in his first trial. And you guys, it will make you cry. The message of hope is so incredible. And some of the people that filled out the survey that said, oh, I have the ApoE4 gene, I'm doomed, whatever, I can't get into a study. You're not doomed. You're not. Yes, if you have an inheritable risk of dementia or Alzheimer's, then yep, you probably are at a higher risk. But I think it was Dean Ornish that said, nurture beats nature. In other words, the whole study of epigenetics, guys, is on our ability to affect a different structural DNA. And he's proving it. So Dr. Dean Ornish took a bunch of people, he put them on a plant-based diet, all whole foods, fed them 3 meals and 2 snacks a day. They met 3 times a week for 4 hours. They exercised. They did half hour of exercise every day, or they met 3 times a week and did an hour, okay, of cardiovascular and strength training. Their cardiovascular mode of activity, most of them was walking, okay? And they also did stress management. So he recommended, back when he wrote this book, an hour a day of meditation or some sort of stress management. That's not manageable for most of us, but it is so important. It's such an important pillar in brain health because we are all way over supercharged and our nervous systems are way out of balance because of it. And it's because of our fast-paced technological environment. And everybody's just scrambling to keep up all the time. And we are a quick fix society, aren't we? We want everything fast and we want it now and so on and so forth. And we've kind of been conditioned to be that way. So we're kind of doing it to ourselves, if you will. Also, group support. So this is one of the things, and you'll hear it if you listen to the recording in the group that I threw in into this guide. that a lot of the folks, when they're diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's, I mean, first of all, suicide rates go up like 70%. True. If you get a dementia diagnosis, most people rather die than live with dementia. And that is a sad truth. And we need to do everything we can to prevent it, because society, culturally, the world, nobody, not one country is capable of dealing with the baby boomers all getting dementia, or even 50% of them getting dementia. And the rates are pretty high if we keep going the way we're going, which is one of the reasons why I developed Fit for Life, and why I was so passionate about bringing this program to life. And also supplements. And I think I threw the supplements that he recommended, or the ones that they used in the group. And Dr. Ornish is not tied to any supplement or drug company or anything like that, guys. Okay? These are just, they just knew that there were certain components of the biodome that if they affected, it affected people's cognition, just so you know that. He doesn't say what those things are in his interviews. And trust me, I've listened to many of them because I'm trying to find out. Not before, but about the same time as Dr. Ornish is doing his heart disease work, another doctor, Dr. Daniel Amen, I also have his book, In Your Right Mind. I got it when it first came out. Like I said, I've been studying the brain for decades. And this is Dr. Amen's brain. This is a PET scan of Dr. Amen's brain. And I just want to point it out. I know it looks like one of those CERAC tooth enamel things if you've ever had a molar crown or anything, or a crown done. But this is the brain on the left is Dr. Amen's brain at the age of 37, okay? So imagine it. He's a psychiatrist, and he's out of med school, and he's got, you know, family and loans to pay back, and he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off trying to make life happen. And he's living on Coca-Cola and caffeinated beverages and, you know, typical grab food, drive-through food and stuff like that. What I'd just like to point out is the top left brain. I would like to point out the top right brain. I want you to notice, well, in all of them really, but it's particularly predominant and evident in, I'll say, that first triad, the top left and the top right in the first picture, and then the bottom right. Look at the amount of pitting in Daniel Amen's brain. Those are areas that aren't getting good blood flow. Those are areas that are being damaged by his lifestyle. Now, this is his brain at the age of 52 on the right. Look at how smooth, particularly the top one and the bottom right one are. Look how smooth and less mottled his brain is. Isn't that crazy? So the PET scan measures blood flow and activity in the brain. Crazy, crazy good stuff. All right, so other new stuff, brand new. So I am like a disciple of the Functional Aging Institute, and Dr. Cody Sipes and Dr. Dan. And these guys, Dan Ritchie, these guys are amazing. So they've actually they're starting a brain gym, believe it or not, guys. You can actually, if you want to own a subsidy of a brain gym, you can actually go. You can start a brain gym. But we're going to actually do some of these things today. So I talked about earlier, I mentioned cognitive and sensory information as well as motor skills, and how if you do those things separately, okay, you may have some brain morphing, you may have some changes in plasticity. But the cool thing is that when you combine a motor skill with a cognitive skill or a sensory skill, you have exponential brain morphing. This is so cool. So it's like high intensity interval training. Your ability to make a change and make it fast is exponentially increased when you dual task. So in other words, don't just do your crossword puzzles. Do your crossword puzzle while you're out for a walk. Okay? We're gonna actually try some of these things out. So examples: walking and talking, lifting weights and counting. There's a cognitive skill and a motor skill. Okay? Dancing, learning new steps, keeping time, actually learning a 32 count or an 8 count phrase and putting it together for a whole entire music phrasing, things like that. It's pretty cool. He said physical activity to improve cognition in older adults. How can the cognitive challenges enhance the effects? And this was a systematic review. Okay, so this is all published stuff, guys. It's not like stuff that we just need to know, or that's nice to know. It's stuff that we need to know. And if you really want to make a change, then we really need to pay attention. All parts of the human body which have a human function, if used in moderation and exercised, in which each is accustomed, become truly healthy, will develop and die more slowly, but if unused, they become liable to disease, defective in growth, and age quickly. It's not just the body, it's the brain too. Thank you, Hippocrates, 320, is it, before Christ? And then, of course, I love this. Jack LaLanne, don't just add years to your life, add life to your years. And in the end, it's not just the years, it's the life in your years that count, right? Abe Lincoln. And that concludes my slideshow. Now, we're going to practice dual tasking. Are you ready? Woohoo! Get psyched. Get ready to get up. Okay, so I got a fun one for you. So this activity, you're going to have to stand up. You're going to have to stand up, and hopefully I can see your feet. If you can make that happen.
Fran, I'm going to tell you, this is Terry. I'll just give you a view.
Okay. Oh, look. Woohoo! Terry,
I have nothing. I have nothing for you. Nothing.
I see a trip hazard happening there.
So I'm going to dutifully watch.
Okay, I'll tell you
and
what.
Listen.
You can still do it. You can do it in your chair. You can do it right from there, but you'll just have to sit on the edge of your chair. But you can do it.
Okay.
All you're going to do for this first one, you can do it. All you're going to do is move your feet. I'm just going to adjust my light because that's going to be super important, you guys, because you have to be able to see the colors that I'm going to be holding up, okay? This is going to be part of the sensory challenge. So hang on a second. It's going to be so much fun. I love doing this stuff. I mean, I just love it. It's exciting and it's fun, guys. It's a blast. You can do it with kids, you can do it with adults, whatever. All right, so I'm going to be holding up colors, okay? I have 6 colors right here by my right side. The first one is red. Okay? If I hold up the red color, let me back up. If I hold up the red color, you're just going to tap your right foot forward. Right foot forward on red. Okay? If I hold up yellow, you're going to tap your left foot forward. Okay? Let's just practice. Okay? So far, so good. If I hold up the color green, you're going to tap your right foot out to the side. If I hold up the color blue, there's a beautiful royal blue here, you're going to tap your left foot out to the side. Okay, so let's just practice. Good. By the way, I'm doing these with you in practice to give you a visual, but when we actually begin the exercise, I will not be doing it with you. I won't be modeling, okay? So you'll have to recall, all right? Short-term memory, hippocampus. Okay. Next, I have purple. This is purple. Purple. If I hold up purple, you're going to float your right foot behind your left foot. So just behind it. Or slight rotation. Okay? If I hold up orange, this is a pumpkin. It's actually jack-o'-lantern. Isn't that adorable? If I hold up my pumpkin, you're going to float your left foot behind your right foot. Okay? All right. So let's practice this in sequence. All right? So sequentially and then at my whim. Are you game? Yes. Okay. I see commitment, but okay. Sequentially first. I can't see your legs, so this is difficult for me. Yeah, Deb, you don't have any room to back up either, do you? No, okay. Okay, all right. So here we go. We'll do the best we can. All right. Go ahead. Okay. Okay. Great. Remember, this is purple. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so everybody's clear, 100% on that. Let's see what we can do now. Here we go. Yeah, now that we're non-sequential, it takes a minute. You got to think about it. Good.
Fran, for some reason, I really can't see the colors. If you would be able to say the color, that would be awesome.
Okay, okay. I'll give you a verbal as well as a visual.
Yeah, it's just because I don't know. I don't know how to get out of gallery and just have you.
Oh,
So
hang on a second.
You're tiny.
Oh my gosh.
You're
Hang on.
tiny.
Okay. All right. Yeah, hang on. I don't want to stop my video. Here we go. We should be in speaker view. One moment. All right. Oh, that's my speaker view though. Yeah, you should be. Do you have an ellipsis on your screen, guys? I want to be in gallery view because I want to see you all. You should have an ellipsis on your screen or an ellipsis right above my video. Click on the ellipsis and click on spotlight or pin or speaker view. Okay. Did that help? Great. Okay. All right. So there's a reason why, Terry. if I give you a verbal and a visual, I'm making it easier because I'm giving you two different senses at one time.
No, that's fine. Now I can see you. I'm all
Okay,
set.
perfect. Okay. All right. And I will get a little closer to the screen as well. That'll just mean I'll have to walk over there. All right. So we got this one. All right. Okay. Okay. I'm laughing because I'm tricking you already. Purple. That's purple. I gave you a hint. Purple? Yes. Good, good. Great job. So you can see it takes a while to process that. Okay. All right. Now I've got a cognitive challenge. So that was a sensory challenge. All right. You had to be able to see the color. You could use smells. I could have had you, for example, I don't know, have like 4 different items. Say some evergreen fir, some perfume, a rose, and a piece of bacon. And then said, okay, as you're walking or completing a motor skill, what does this smell like? That kind of thing. Okay. So next, though, we're going to do a cognitive challenge. So this one's kind of fun. So the motor skill, first the motor skill, and then the cognitive challenge. Now remember, you guys are on mute. Actually, you know what? Even though it will be pure cacophony, I'm going to have you unmute your audio. Go ahead and unmute your audio. So everybody's unmuted. All right. And now for the motor skill, you're going to start on your right side. You're going to tap your foot behind you. Quick, other side, quick, and then back to the right, slow. Okay? So it's quick, quick, slow. Then quick, quick, slow. Quick, quick, slow. Quick, quick, slow. All right. So is everybody clear on the motor challenge? Awesome. Okay, great. So now, while you're doing your motor skill, while you're performing your motor skill, you don't want to stop the motor skill. You don't want to hesitate. You want to maintain a certain tempo, quick, quick, slow. Quick, quick, slow. If I had a metronome, I would tick it, but I don't have one. And I don't want to play music because that would be another cognitive challenge or what we would call perturbation. So we don't want to do that. So here we go. Go ahead and start quick, quick, slow. Now, listen carefully. I want you to start naming round things as quick as you can.
Apple, ball, orange,
Grass,
circle,
Button,
blue,
mandala,
a
earth,
round thing.
donuts, noses,
Furniture,
earplugs,
frames,
dog ribbon,
dog collar,
What's this?
I can't see you.
your
Oh,
ring.
watch it.
Oh,
ring,
Eyes.
But-
Eyes. Glasses.
Oh. Head,
Grape.
faces, lights,
Lemons and limes.
Cars,
orange,
a brown?
jars.
Tells.
So can I just tell you, first of all, it's not that easy. You think round things, oh my goodness, you know.
I heard
Brain,
brown.
moon, sun, eyes, nose, ears, any orifice.
I heard brown.
Any round things. So here's what I noticed. You guys are trying your best to do the quick, slow. But what I noticed was every once in a while, you'd go back to like almost a steady state. And so that's what happens. Have you ever been walking with someone and you're walking along and every time they speak to you, they stop? They stop walking or they stop doing what they're doing and talk to you? That's because they can't mentate and continue the motor skill at the same time. Sometime, if you're around somebody that has some mild cognitive impairment, try it. Make a little experiment. See what happens. You'll start noticing things like that when you become aware of the brain and the challenges and everything. But isn't that cool? So this is called dual tasking. It's something that we do in Fit Forever twice a week. It's so important to help us keep our brains sharp, not just the whole physical part. But of course, the motor skill is great. I mean, here you are, you're doing a step touch, for example. And actually, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. Step touch. This doesn't take much room. Great. Okay. Now, starting with the letter A, recite 7 letters of the alphabet.
A, B,
A,
C,
D,
D,
B,
E, F, G.
F, B, A, I.
Starting with the letter S, as in Sam, recite 7 letters of the alphabet.
S, T, U, V, W, X.
Y.
And Y. Okay. Knee lifts. Hang on a second. Okay. Recite 7 letters backwards from Z.
Z, Y, W.
E, F, E, D, C, B, A.
Too funny. Val, you forgot X.
Yeah. I just arrived at it.
And I didn't want to, but you can see, so that's what you call a sweet spot, guys. So what you're doing is you're challenging your cognitive thought process while you're performing a motor skill. And sometimes what you'll find is that the motor skill will slow down, or you'll revert back to just something, or you'll just stop moving because you're thinking so hard, and they're actually competing for a certain area of your brain. But how cool is that? And how much fun? Wasn't that fun? So. So here's the thing. It's got to be, so I call this the Goldilocks principle. Goldilocks, right? Not too hot, not too cold, just right. That's the thing. It can't be too difficult. If it's too difficult, you'll get discouraged. Discouraged is an emotion. An emotion is going to trigger your lizard brain, and your sense of survival will take over. that part of your brain will take over, and it'll take away from executive command center that's actually helping you to think and process and plan and execute. Okay? So anytime you get emotional about something or nervous, that's why you can't think straight. Your brain kind of gets hijacked, at least that left frontal lobe does, or the frontal, cerebral cortex does. So very, very, very interesting. And so if you want to learn more about the brain, again, I've got resources in the group for you. I really hope you enjoyed today's presentation, and I hope you had fun. I'm happy to entertain any questions. We're actually 5 minutes ahead of schedule today. I'm so proud of myself. Yeah, so and back to my original thought. It can't be too difficult or you'll get discouraged, but it can't be too easy because you're not learning anything. It's not enough of a challenge. Just like exercise. It can't be too easy or you're not getting much out of it. Okay? You might get something out of it, especially if you're really, been really sedentary, but yeah. Any questions, thoughts?
I'm really hoping this exercise will help me decide what I'm keeping and what I'm throwing away and what I'm selling. It's coming along.
It might. It might. Just getting up and moving, Terry, and just or even taking a break and going out for a little bit of a walk, and you might find that you have a different perspective, literally, when you go back to your task.
That is exactly when I start thinking, when it moves from here to here, I have to leave the room. And which is why every room is utter chaos right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a process, right? Yeah, I imagine it's not a linear process either. What you're going through, it has a lot of different facets to it. Not just the physical. And by the way, what you were doing was entirely physical. You were literally like gym in your home kind of thing with the boxes and the moving, you're bending, you're deadlifting, you're doing all the things, you're lunging, you're deadlifting,
Yep.
you're squatting.
Jerry, if you don't think about it, you can box up a house in one day flat, a 2-bedroom house in 5 hours. But if you think about it, it can take you the rest of your life.
Right. I'm going to make it. I'll make it.
Well, you'll box up and get out of there, but you may have some unpacking and sorting to do when you get to the new place.
No, I'm sure I'll be okay.
Oh, you will, Terry. You've got a beautiful, organized mind. You will be fine.
Usually. Usually I do.
Deb, you're awful quiet down there.
Oh, just taking it all in,
You're in that realm of creativity, girl. Any creative thoughts come out?
No, I've got a room kind of like one of Terry's that I've pulled everything out of the closet, which was pretty packed. So my, trying to throw out and get rid of and all that stuff. It's a process. I'm a collector, so it's a process.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and for everybody on the recording. Thank you for your time and listening. And I'll throw this as soon as it gets up and gets ready in the group, and I get a chance. I'll throw it into the group as always. And please remember to chat the group up, guys. I want to keep everybody really, really socially engaged. That's so important to our health, not just our physical health, but also our cognitive health. Very super important. Super important that we have one another's support. That was the other thing. In Dean Ornish's program, these folks who had Alzheimer's or dementia or cognitive impairment, because you had to have one of these things in order to be enrolled in the study, there were 51 people. And a lot of them hadn't told anybody. or shared that they had cognitive impairment. And they hadn't shared that they had the beginnings of dementia or had been diagnosed with dementia. So you can imagine how lonely and isolated these folks felt, you know. And studies show that if you are diagnosed, that you will begin, I mean, you literally, your world shrinks. And COVID did that to us, right? And but imagine what an Alzheimer's or a dementia diagnosis would do. And so these folks, for the first time, they had 50 other people that they could share with, that they could talk to, that they could say, oh, I've been dealing with this and oh, it's just too much, you know, how do you deal with it and stuff. And so the social engagement, the networking and the support that they got is also attributed to their success. And you guys, you wouldn't believe the testimonials. Wait until you see the video that's along with the interview. The woman, oh my word, it makes me tear up just thinking about it. Yeah, so much hope. So much hope. Thank you, Dr. Ornish.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you. You
Yeah,
guys
thank
have
you, Fran.
a great day.
All right. Thanks, Fran, and have a great week, everyone.
You too.
Okay. Thanks, I will. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.